Hi everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and I am back for another instalment in Meine Reise durch Asien by Rita Berman, My Journey Through Asia. I am very tired this morning. I'm filming this the morning after the Work in Progress Wednesday live stream. I always find live streaming really tiring, like I find it physically tiring. So I didn't sleep very well last night either, so I'm a wee bit kind of like three sheets to the wind this morning. However, I'm very much looking forward to this, and this is a great way to start off a Thursday morning as far as I'm concerned. So you guys will be seeing part 3 as I'm filming this. The part 3 would have come up today, and so this is actually quite nice that I get to carry on in this format. So today I do want to focus on the train with my trusty Polychromos pencils. My thinking is we're probably only going to have this video and maybe one other one with this page and we should be done. So today I'd like to focus on the train, and then next time we can pick up our magical smoke, our little pussycat, and the suitcase that's sitting there, and that will be us. We will be done. First things first, let's pick some colours. So I'm going to pop this out of the way. Faber-Castell Polychromos. Now, I would like the train to be blue, but not the blue of the sky. A really traditional blue. So I was thinking along the lines of this cobalt blue, and we can use the Indanthrene blue as our shadow colour. So I thought that might be quite nice as well. And then we can put a few pops of colour in the actual windows of the train itself. So I'm going to start with the cobalt and the Indanthrene blue. So cobalt blue is 143 and Indanthrene blue is 247. I'm also going to pull in the dark indigo just in case we need it. Got my cup of tea this morning as well, keep me going, keep me revved up. I have to say I was really pleased with last night's live stream. I knew that was really going to be the test for my, like, the way I've arranged things, like the way I've set things up. And I think you'll agree that for those of you that attended or have watched the replay video, it actually worked quite well. As per usual, I'm going to start with my lightest colour, and this is the cobalt blue. And I'm just going to put a layer of that over the body of the train. I don't really know what I'm going to do with this square here, but I'll figure that. I'll figure that out. It'll be fine. The only downside I have seen so far from having my setup this way is I have always looked at the little screen that's attached to the camera. I've got a Canon camera, so it's got one of these little fold-out viewfinders that twists round. I have always used that to make sure that I'm in shot, you know, if I've disappeared away down. And for years and years, I've looked up towards the camera to see that. For some bizarre reason, I mean, that's like kind of like inbuilt into me, and for some bizarre reason, because I've got this set up here, I've got a screen here and I've got a screen here, and that's so that when we're live streaming I can see the chat, but also I can use the streaming software on a separate screen. So it doesn't matter whether I'm filming or streaming, it's the same setup. And for some weird reason I keep wanting to turn and look at the streaming screen over here to look to see if I'm in shot. And what that does is it cuts my voice off away from the camera because I'm like facing all the way over this way. I don't know why I'm doing it because it's never been a thing. So I'm finding that a bit weird, and I'm trying to stop myself doing it because my little viewfinder screen is still here. I can still see it. So yeah, that's a bit strange, and I don't know where it's come from. I'm just looking at this pattern here, and I'm wondering, do I need to avoid these little, I'll call them pips, as in apple pips, not as in collie pips. So I'm having to be fairly careful here. There's quite a lot of little bits to go in and out around these here parts. Is that a window? Yes, that's a window. Is this the same smoke as this? I think it is, and if that's the case, I want to make this blue and pretend that it's part of the train, but I want to fade that out into the smoky area. So I'm just going to have the blue along that line there, and then I'm just going to fade it out as it comes towards this sort of dot pattern. Some bubbles there as well. Like, is that a bubble? Yes, it's a bubble. I don't know where the bubbles have come from. I wouldn't associate bubbles with smoke from trains. Or steam from trains even. Either of those things. But yeah, okay. It's fine. I've just noticed this little gap down here as well. I don't know what I'm going to do with that either. I think I'm going to have to put the dark indigo in there. So at least I'm consistent with what's going on over here. Now this is the thing about these kinds of images. You do have to, it keeps you on your toes right enough. But you do have to keep an eye out for stuff like this and, you know, make a decision. The good thing is there's no pressure on you to, you know, as to timescales for making said decisions. You can mull it over all you want. There we go. I'm just going to go over all of these panels here. I've not really decided what I'm doing with that, but I'll give them a layer of blue for now. And I'm going to leave the wheels alone. Kind of want to put like a gold trim around this train. Is that too fancy? Let's face it, the station's fancy, so I don't see why the train can't be fancy. When we think about light sources, I would imagine there would be light hitting this sort of area. I don't want to make it really obvious though, but it's just something I want to, you know, have in consideration while we're doing this. Now weirdly, I want to fill this part in straight away, so I'm taking my indenthrine and I'm just going to put a light layer of that down. It's not going to be a really heavy layer, and I'm going to take that all the way down because that's going to be in shadow there. I don't want it melding in with the sky, so I'm going to go back over it again with my Cobalt. There we go. So that's quite a nice kind of like darker shade in there. I might even pull some of the dark indigo in as well. Just really darken that down. So thinking about the furthest away point then, I think we can zoom in. I'll zoom in to about there. How's that? So I'm just putting a second layer of this down. And again, quite a light layer. And then I'm going to take my indenthrine and I'm just going to start to sort of contour. So where Rita has left these lines, I'm just going to start to add in a bit more, sort of like accents if you like. So I want this back carriage, or the furthest away carriage should I say, to be fairly dark because I don't think there'll be much light coming from, you know, from inside the station. And this is obviously a recess here because that's a door to let you get in the train. So some indigo and then the indenthrine on top. Now I know the blue for the train might seem an odd choice given the sky. It goes well and it also kind of fits with like the trains out in the dark night, if you see what I'm saying. You know, it's not in the station, whereas this part here may well be. So I have to make a decision here where I'm going to start to lighten things up, and I kind of want to do it in between these two windows here. So from this point to the right will be significantly lighter, as in not much more colour than this, and in this section will be more kin to what's going on here. So that's kind of what I'm going for. Again, I just want to add in a little bit of extra pencil in some of these areas here. And it's just for interest, that's all I'm doing it for. It's not anything sort of technical. This is where I'm going to take a bit more time and I'm going to build up some of this cobalt blue. So about here, that's where I want to start to lighten, like really lighten it up. So on this part here, I'm just going to build up some layers, and that's going to be the point that I'm working towards. My little mind started to wander. I used to have a gold gel pen, but I think it bit the dust. So I might have to whip out some of Julia K's gold paint. Okay, so I'll add in a little bit of the indenthrine as well. Again, where these hatch lines are that Rita has left us. Thanks, Rita. Such a nice rich blue, and you can see now it stands out quite nicely next to what's going on up here, and it's just because of the combination of colours that we've used. So again, don't be scared, because I do talk a lot all the time about contrast and blah blah blah, you know, and things standing out next to each other. It's okay to not do that, but be aware and select your colours carefully. So this is more complimentary than anything. And again, this is something I don't normally do, but I wanted to do it to show you that it can be done and not to be scared about things being too samey. If you pick your colours, especially with the likes of the polychromos, I mean, you've got more blues than you can shake a stick at in that set. So, you know, there's no reason for you not to be able to plonk two blues next to each other. And say what it does is it lets you pick up that sort of, you know, the sort of atmosphere and the lighting of the fact that it's nighttime, and you've got this lovely cosy posh station. Because I don't know about y'all, but if you've ever travelled at nighttime, you really are like sluggish and foggy, and you know, if you've been travelling long distances, you're tired anyway, regardless of the time of day. But there's something really comforting about getting to the end of your journey and there being, you know, sort of friendly, welcoming lights kind of thing. So I really wanted to try and capture that a little bit. That's, you know, So now I'm just going to work on the actual carriage part here. And I'm going to match this colour up to what I've done along here. I'm just going to go over these little pips because I'll get them with gold paint, I've decided. I think this, and to keep in with the grandeur, I think we should have some gold accents here. I mean, it looks to me, this is obviously the first class carriages because they've got curtains and lamps on their tables, you know? Don't find that in the ScotRail service to Glasgow. I was talking to my Tesco delivery man. I'm starting to get to know my delivery men for my groceries here. You know, because I get shopping delivered every week, so they're on a rota. But yeah, we're kind of getting through them now when we're meeting them. So there's a chap he's around my age. I don't know what age is exactly, but he was telling me he's got a daughter. And unfortunately, he's no longer with the mother of his child. He hasn't been on a date for 5 years, and he went out on a date. It was, you know, he was like online dating. I don't know what app it was he used, but he was explaining that, you know, it's really different now from the last time he started dating. And I was saying, well, obviously for me, I've been with Mr. Jem for 12 years. I wouldn't know the first place to start if I had to do that again. So I'm like, must be quite daunting. So anyway, he was really, really nervous and he went on a date with this girl and he really likes her. So they are they've just had their second date and they went axe throwing, which I thought was amazing. I was like, yes, I want to do that. I was actually saying to Mr. Jem, there's an axe throwing place again because we're near Edinburgh. We've got access to a lot of stuff, so yeah, we like the axe throwing. And he went and did that with her, so he's now having a third date. So I'm like totally invested in this guy's this guy's love life because he seems to be really into her. Like he's a nice guy, he's really chatty and bubbly, and he just feels now that his daughter's a wee bit older, she's at school. You know, he's maybe got a wee bit more time for a love life now, and I'm like, oh, this is amazing. So I'm like, the next time you come back, you'll need to keep me updated. But yeah, that kind of I was thinking about that there because she's from just outside Glasgow and he's obviously from just outside Edinburgh. So they've been taking it in turns to meet each other in, you know, in the city. So he was saying that he's going to have to get the train through to Glasgow, and he was asking me because obviously I'm from the other side of the country and I'm like much more familiar with Glasgow than I am with Edinburgh. So I was explaining to him which train he needs to get. I was like, you'll be fine, it'll be okay. But he's concerned about missing the train and getting home because obviously he doesn't want to impose on her. And, you know, he doesn't want her thinking that he's trying to get her to put him up for the night. So he's a wee bit nervous about that because it's only their third date. So yeah, I'm living vicariously through my Tesco delivery guy. But I really hope it goes well for him. I don't even know his name either. I must ask him the next time I see him because he didn't have a badge on. Anywho's, it's fun. This is fun. Right, okay. I'm just looking at this part next to this part, and this seems quite washed out, and I want it to match this, so I'm just going to go back over with another layer of my cobalt blue here. So yeah, the dating scene, I mean, the dating scene is unrecognisable now from, you know, the last time I was single. Don't think I could do the whole online dating thing, honestly. I think I would, I just wouldn't be that that bothered. I would like to meet someone organically if I was in that position. Call me old-fashioned. Right, okay, I think this kind of like, not undercarriage section, but the bottom part here, I think this should be a lot darker, so I think we might go to the Indian theme. But again, I want to keep that vibrancy against the sky background here, so I do want to be using a lot more of the cobalt blue to keep it nice and bright. So we'll just get another layer of that down. It was interesting for me because when I met Mr. Jem, we met at university. And we were friends for 2 years before we actually started going out, before we started dating. And we went through a bit of to and froing because we both kind of knew we wanted to ask each other out. But there was a stage where I was seeing someone and he was single, and then I was single and he started seeing someone, and it just kind of took us a while to get it sorted out. But being friends for 2 years, that made a huge difference to me, because I'm quite weird about stuff like that. I really have to know somebody before I'll commit to anything. And yeah, so that was what we did. But when we actually got together, the time from us going out on our first official date to moving in together was less than 8 weeks, and we moved in together after 8 weeks, which it sounds a bit crazy, but again, you have to remember I knew him, and I knew him well for 2 years before that, and we've been together ever since, because there was people saying you're out your mind, you can't work together and live together, you don't know each other, blah blah blah, it won't work out. And lo and behold, here we are. And I mean, we waited a long time before we got married. We waited 6 years before we got married, just to make absolutely sure that we were both sure. A lot to be said for it, but yeah, definitely wouldn't want to be dating in these climates these days. I'm quite happy with how this looks up till this point. So now we need to sort this part out here. All I want to do is even out the colour that's there. I don't really want to put layer upon layer upon layer. But obviously I have to put enough pencil down so that it's even, which will give us some more colour. So the key to this is to keep a light pressure, use a scumbling motion, so these little circles, and just take your time. And we'll be able to build this up nice and evenly. And we can get the transition, like we can work on the transition from the darker part to the lighter part. That comes after, so let's just get this colour down, say nice and evenly. Try not to rush as well. We've talked about this before with this particular colouring page. And really just monitor your pressure. So that's the part for me I have to concentrate on. And at the moment, you can't see obviously because it's out of shot, but just because I have grip issues, I actually gauge my pressure more from my elbow and my shoulder than anything else. And I'm deliberately rested my elbow on the table so that I can feel, you know, how much I'm pushing down. So that this is actually more challenging for me than some of the more complicated techniques, just because sometimes I struggle to gauge pressure because I've got no feeling in 3 of my fingers in my left hand. I've got motor function in them, which is sometimes reliable, sometimes not. But the pressure thing's a real problem. So that's not bad at all. And that's fairly even. I'm not mad about that. I can hear Pip sloping about. She's abandoned her post. She started lying outside the door of the cave. The door's always open, but it's a great big long skinny corridor up to the business end of the house, you know, to the fun end of the house. So she's been lying at the door facing along the corridor. That seems to be our spot. Sometimes she comes in, she's got a chair in here. Sometimes she's been coming in and lying in the chair, but other times she's just not that bothered, which is fine. As long as she's got somewhere to put herself where she's content, that's all that matters to me. And Jop's here. He's curled up like a pussycat. He's under the desk. Just got this bit along at the end here, and then that's us. It's really beneficial when you're doing this kind of technique where you want to keep it light. It's really beneficial to not sharpen your pencil. I've got a bit of a rounded end on that. You can see it against the white of the paper there. And that's great for this because you're far more likely to get smooth colour and, you know, no sort of odd scratchy lines. So highly recommend not sharpening your pencil for this. And say we'll just tail that off there. I think I'm going to put a little bit of the blue in here. Okay, so for inside the train window, now we're going to talk a little bit about colour theory here. We have the inside edge of these windows. Now, it stands to reason that might be made out of the same stuff that the outside's made out of, or they might have painted it the same colour to make it, you know, uniform. We've got these little lamps, and I'm going to have some light emanating from these lamps. So if we think about it, most of these types of lamps have a white or yellowish tint to them because that yellow makes it feel cosy. And what do you get if you mix yellow and blue? You get green. So what I would like to do is pick a greenish blue for the insides of these windows. I think the Cobalt Turquoise might be quite dark, but again, we're going to go really lightly, so I'm going to grab the Cobalt Turquoise, which is 153. And just while I'm here, I've also grabbed my cream pencil, which is 102. It's this little dinky look. And that's going to be our ambient light. It's funny how I'm so easily pleased with stuff like this. Yep, so I am going to put the cream. Now I've picked the cream over the ivory. The ivory is much whiter, or should I say the cream is much yellow-ater than the ivory, which is why I've chosen it. And I do want to get that sense of the, you know, it being quite sort of cosy and warm inside the train against this sort of dark night. Excellent. Okay, so I'm going to grab this Cobalt Turquoise now. And just very lightly. This is super sharp. Wow. I must have sharpened this before I put it away. Look at that for a point. To surprise myself there. So again, a little bit like we had over here. I want light pressure but even colour. So slow, deliberate movements. Little circular motion. Now I'm leaving that outside edge because I'm going to do that gold. So this is literally the windowsills inside the train. It's kind of difficult to see in some places. I'm like trying to manoeuvre my way around. I need my tracing paper here. So on this window pane here that's a bit closer to us, there's some hatching there as well. So if you want to add in a little bit more pencil here, then go for it. Okay, so far so good. So something to note at this point is the colours that I've just used, namely the cobalt blue and the cobalt turquoise. I will reuse these colours in the suitcase and possibly the cat's bow as well. Again, to have that nice sort of cohesive piece. And I really want this pinky purple smoke to be a thing. Like I want that to be the feature kind of thing. So we'll reuse these colours in due course. And I've also picked out blue violet here, and that is 137. And I'm going to use this colour for the curtains. Now, there's a couple of reasons for me to pick this colour. First of all, if we're sticking to the idea of uniformity, my smoke is going to be pink and purple. But also the background in these in sections of the train are yellow, and purple and yellow are complementary. So that's the idea. There's lots of folds here, so you can spend as much time as you want making this good, making it funky. I'd like the colour to be quite rich, and then again a bit lighter here because there'll be reflected light from this interior of the train station. It's in behind the clock as well, so we don't need to worry about it too much. So I've got a pinky purple here as well, which is the light red of violet, and that is 135. And this is going to look quite pink next to the purple, which is what I'm looking for, even though it is actually a kind of purpley shade. And it's just to pick up these lampshades. So the lampshades are probably the same colour as the curtains, but because they are lit, then it's changed the colour. I'm just gonna colour this little chair in as well. I can just see the edge of a seat there, which is nice. And then let's pick out a slightly orangey colour. And so I've got the dark chrome yellow, which is 109. And this is where the fun comes in. I'm going to create a little halo round these lamps. So very light hand though, very, very light hand. It's like, yeah, look, we're emanating coziness from inside the train. I'm just gonna, yeah. Having a think about the plaque on the side of the train, I'm gonna be going in gold round there. I think I'm gonna use this cream pencil here. I thought pink or purple might be a bit outrageous, but you know. And I'm gonna take this dark chrome yellow and just add in a little bit of extra colour here. Again, thinking about that transition from the darker area to the lighter area. Okay, cool. So for these wheel housings, I think I want them dark blue, so I'm going to start with the Indian theme. Not going to use the cobalt on this at all. And I'm just going to block that in and set over this side. I've also grabbed a warm grey 5 here as well, and this is just for the wheels. That is 274. So put a layer of that down on all 3 of these wheels that we can see. And then I'm going to go back to my my indigo just to use that as a shadow colour for all that we need it for, but I feel like it has to be done. Okay, there we go. Nice. Okay, just to finish off today, I am going to grab some gold paint and we can add in these accents. So we've also, that's us picked our colours for our smoke for next time. We've done that automatically. So I'll be using the blue violet and the light red violet as part of this when we come back next time. So I'm just going to grab some gold paint. Okay, interestingly, I just happen to have the Gansai Talmbate Starry Colours here. I've had this set forever, and you can see yellow gold is the colour that I use most often. I'll just grab a little water brush. So we'll give this a spray, or if you're Scottish, give it a scoosh. I've got my little Derwent diffuser here, there we go. Just let that soak for a little minute. It just helps to activate the metallic particles. And you get a better spread with them if you allow for that a little bit. Yeah, I can see them moving already, that's great. Give the desk a little dry off. Oh, I don't want the book cover getting damp. You can see how easy it is for me to pick up that colour now. So I've got my tiniest water brush here, and I'm going to start at the right hand side because I'm left-handed. Obviously, again, if you're the opposite way round, you do it the opposite way round. So we've got the window here. I think I'm going to have to go 2 layers of this paint for it to really... Oh no, there we go. I have no doubt that some of you will find this a lot easier with a gel pen. Absolutely fine. I just don't really get on with gel pens. I'm actually better with a paintbrush, which that's kind of saying something. Oh, that didn't go well at all. I actually can't talk while I'm doing this. It requires too much concentration. Don't worry too much as well if you go outside the lines. You can always touch in the line work with a fine liner afterwards. That's the cool bit about it. Again, I'm trying to avoid these bubbles here. Which, when I've got a tiny water brush like this, is much easier. If I'm using a normal paintbrush to do trims like this, I usually favour the little Milan 611 size 0 or the sea white synthetic brushes that I sell in the stash shop. The size 0, and that's really good for stuff like this as well. Because the bristles are synthetic, they're a bit more rigid, so it's easier to get a consistent straight line as well. That's one thing that synthetic brushes are really good for. And they also, they don't hold as much water, so you're less likely to overload your brush as well. So I noticed that there's no trim around this door, it's just the windows. I could put one in, but I'll just leave it as Rita intended. And saying that, I'm not sure that Rita would have intended for us to have gold window frames right enough, but it's the joy of a colouring book, isn't it? Alrighty, oh. And there we have it today, guys. We have moved our train a little bit further along. Get it? And really started to, you know, show this feeling of the light coming from the train station. So next Thursday will be the last video. We will just go for as long as it takes to finish this off. We've got our colours picked out for our smoke. Still not really sure what I'm going to do with this over here, but we'll figure it out. And then we've got our little cat in our suitcase. And after that, we'll maybe add some gold into these stars here. And then maybe we should just do that right now. Let's do that right now. Might as well, since I've got the gold paint out anyway. Let's just do the stars. Okay, find the stars. Yeah, so that if we get through everything, that'll be this picture done and dusted. I actually really like the size of Rita's books. I think they're really good for filming purposes as well, because you still get the full you know, full colouring page experience, but you know, you're not running into 9, 10, 11, 12 parts, because it does get a bit tedious after a while, and the viewership on these videos does tend to drop off the longer the series is. You know, the more people you lose along the way kind of thing. And I think Rita's books are just a fabulous size, because obviously the next videos, it'll be part 6 and we're done, so that's pretty good. 6 is a good number. Just making sure I haven't missed any as we go along here. Oh, that's a wee tiny one in there. It's one of those ones that you hold your breath when you're filling it in. Okay, there we go. That's us. I'll finish off my tea. It'll be cold by now. Oh, cold tea. Lukewarm, lukewarm. Okay, guys, that is it this time, I promise, for today. We've come along quite nicely. And thanks for coming and hanging out. I really enjoy it. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and if you've coloured your train a different colour, I would like to know what colour it is, please. And I'll see you back in the cave on Sunday for another video. So have a great day, everyone. Bye bye for now.